since this matchmaker is about jobs like positions and finding work, we are going to add the ability for users to actually add their previous jobs. So kind of like a resume CV type thing that will have a list of their positions. Now we're also going to use this in our matching algorithm, or at least our suggestions. So the user, when they log in, they'll see suggested positions based off of the other users that they have similar question responses to, so the similar match, and we'll give them suggestions based off of the matches themselves, and then based off of a set of matches. But the set of matches is going to be a little bit more difficult, so we have to work towards it. So to get this started, let's actually create the jobs app. So we'll do python manage.py, and we'll do start app, and we're going to call it jobs, as in positions held or work experience or something like that. So we'll call it jobs. And inside of jobs, let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to make a few different models here. First off, I'm going to call the first model job, so models.model. And then I'll just have pass for now. And then we'll do class location, models.model, also pass. And then finally class employer, models.model. Also passed for now. Okay, so what we want to do here is we're going to have to first off define what our jobs are going to be. Now, I don't want these jobs to be super complicated at this point. I just want it to be very simple so it's easy for us to implement. Because once we actually implement it, then it's going to be easy to update and add much later. So I'm going to call the first thing, I'm just going to say description or text for the job equals to models.charfield, max length, we'll say it's 120, and then I'll say associated users, so users equals to models.foreign key or many-to-many field, and we'll add in the users here. So I'll do from django.conf import auth user model, import settings, and then we'll say user equals to settings.auth user model, and we'll set this here. Of course, you could also put settings.auth user model here as well, but I'm going to put it as user. And I also want this null equals to true and blank equals to true. So that's all I'm going to have. And I'll define a Unicode. I'll explain why it's just so simple. And then we'll return self.text. So the reason that it's so simple is because we're only going to associate one part of this. And we want to have it in our models to where when we save it, so let's say, for instance, their job is a cashier. Well, the job itself of cashier can be on a whole variety of people, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be on any individual person. We're not going to worry about dates at this time, but for the job itself is going to be something that could be applied to other places. Notice this is not the user job specifically. So since it's not the user job, maybe we don't even want to have this. Maybe all we want to have is text. And then another one I will have is whether or not it's active. So active equals to models.boolean field, and we'll say default equals to true, and then flagged equals to models. So let's actually write the users that might have flagged this specifically. So keep out users in general. Flagged as in is a warning. And then active, whether or not it's shown. Okay, so we've got our job. We could put a timestamp, but that's really up to you if you want to have a timestamp. I don't think it's necessary at this time. And now we could also put location. So if it's actually associated to a location, or instead we could say text again for location. So the text or the name of the location, we'll just say name. And we'll give it to a little bit longer of a name. So the location itself, again, active or flagged. and we'll define the Unicode. And of course, the Unicode in Python 3 is string. Okay, so then finally the employer would be the name of the employer. The location, so this is going to be a foreign key, so models.foreignkey to location. And I'll also say null equals to true, blank equals to true. The name of the employer, we'll have it as that. And then we could add other things like website or geographic location, so latitude and longitude. But I'm going to leave these out to not overcomplicate things. And then we'll define our Unicode. We'll turn self.name. Now there's a reason I'm not getting too much information here. Is because most things you would be able to Google fairly easily, right? So if the employer name is something and it's suggesting this employer to you, and you don't get a whole lot of information beyond that, you could just Google that employer's name and then go for it. So that's where I'm kind of leaving this kind of ambiguous to start, because it doesn't need to be specific or perfect at first, because it's going to take a lot more time developing it if that's the case. Now, if you want to have all that data, of course, by all means, take the time to collect that data, because what we're doing here will be used for all the other things to collect that data if you actually need it. All right, so I'll leave this for now. One thing I will mention is there's this app called Local Flavor app. So if you wanted to actually get like a state of some kind, like so the city, state, or the country, you can use the Local Flavor app. So in this case, I'll actually use the US state field. So there's going to be a list of 2-letter US state abbreviations, and it'll allow us to work with it. So to install it, we're going to just go ahead and install it. Actually, I'll stop here and we'll do this in the next one. So before we actually stop completely, I'm just going to make one more note of this, is the job itself is just text. It's just text associated to a job. It almost could be thought of as like a tag in a way, but in this case, it's just a text. Location, again, just text. It's just about putting these things together, and then later when we actually update our profiles, we will put these jobs and locations in here for this particular user, so all three of those things kind of align very well. All right, so if you have any question on this, let us know. Otherwise, in the next one, we will actually install this Django Local Flavor and then add the Jobs app into our application. All right, so we'll see you in the next one.